Hello, dear students. Today is the 8th of April 2021. Well, it's meant to be the 9th because I'm now in the wee hours of the night. This is in the early morning. I think it's 3:30 in the morning. And we had a special lesson today, so I wanted to comment because if not, I will forget. And because I wanted to say thank you to the 12 students who came to class and took part in our first ever Mary Poppins Antiexam. Congratulations, because you have been part of this kind of exercise, which I've been working for quite a long time. Yes, yeah, okay. Which I've been working on for quite a long time, and sorry. I had a headache some time ago, so I'm a little bit clumsy, thick. Anyway, the aim of this anti-exam is complex, and it is hard to explain because everything is very connected. But you need to pay attention to this anti-exam, and when we check the answers, or when you check the answers at home, you need to pay attention to how this kind of exercise helps you learn to read, or helps you learn to read as an English learner, if you see what I mean, okay? Because I've noticed that when I ask people to select useful language, people need to learn to select useful language. And that is why I give you so many examples, and I work as if I were another of your classmates. I have given you examples of useful language, not only in the C1 resource pack, but for instance, this year with the news, or, and I haven't seen much. I mean, the idea of this useful language work is that when we start the lesson and we had this informal conversations as a warm-up, that you should also say, hey, I want to share some useful language I found here and there. But now in April, you have the opportunity, with the excuse of the Celebration for Learning project, well, the end of course project, which is the Celebration of Learning magazine or newsletter. Now you have the chance this month to be aware of how working with useful language is very rich and very interesting for your English, okay? And how, and I hope you do some work on this, how with the useful language you selected, which can be phrases like prepositional phrases, or different kinds of phrases as in the examples, or with phrases, or with whole complete sentences. How do you select them? Well, that you can have different points of view on how to select them. You can organize them. Sometimes I select them depending on a mistake I want to overcome. So when I am reading, as books are very long, well, maybe this afternoon while I am reading, I will pay special attention to what can I see here in my list of mistakes? Oh, I keep making this mistake, right? So as I read, as I listen to a TED Talk, on YouTube, on the internet, I will pay attention to this kind of structure, this kind of language item, and copy some useful language and try to practice saying it at home or at home later on, the oral drilling part. And then, of course, using it, but writing down the useful language and then organizing all your useful language. Well, this sentence is more useful for me to have it in the category of useful language in connection to my list of mistakes. This other category, this other useful language, this other sentence should go into the category of useful language and grammar, because it has an item that I want to learn to master. For instance, a connector, or it has lots of different tenses in the same passage, because useful language can also be passages, So you copy the passage and you underline the items you want to learn. And this, or for instance, language functions. This sentence that I chose is useful to allow me to remember how modals are used. Modals are used for different language functions, like tenses, for instance. And for instance, if I want to make a polite question, requesting information, I can use all of these structures. So you write them down, making polite requests, and then you can have a list of useful language with examples of making polite requests. And then you will see that there are many different structures to make a polite request. Some structures are in the interrogative, some structures are statements, sometimes you use please, but sometimes you use a question, things like that. I think I gave you a copy of an example of that kind when I gave you a copy on modals and language functions. And I think everybody should pay attention to that, okay, to the language function thing. And it's also on the C1, in the C1 resource pack, okay? But we can talk about it because you see, and it's in textbooks. In textbooks, you always have the language functions. So it always surprises me how little students know about language functions, when the fact is that textbooks have been including language functions all the way, which tells me that there is a mistake in the learning and the exploitation of those textbooks, right? Because students keep translating literally from Spanish into English instead of understanding, what do I want to do with language? What do I want to do with language to you? And saying, okay, what kind of structures, what kind of structures, what kind of language do people use in English to do this, right? Like, remember when I told you, how do we say in English, how do we say, abro la ventana? Do we express that in the present? Do I open the window? No, because that is literal translation. That doesn't work. We express it saying there's a structure in English that we use when we want to offer ourselves to do something for other people. And that is shall I, and it's in the interrogative. We can use other structures. We can say, would you like me to open the window? Okay, but shall I open the window is very usual, right? So that's the thing about language functions, and this is not properly learned, exploited in textbooks, because textbooks always have mentioned the language function of the items that are taught. Okay, and then you can organize your list of useful language also depending on the source you used. For example, useful language I found in Mary Poppins. Useful language I found while I was watching my TV series. You're not sharing useful language you are jotting down from your TV series. You're just watching your TV series and you're not sharing anything at all. Come on, share something. This month you have to start, with this useful language affair, because everybody has to contribute some mistake from their list of mistakes and some useful language arranged in the categories which are most useful for you. So this anti-exam, this Mary Poppins anti-exam, I hope it has helped you learn how to develop a criterion when reading or listening to English on what you can jot down, what sentences you want to copy in your notebook and then later organize to think about their structure or function or whatever, okay? Then, of course, you can also test other things, but it's not a level test and it's not a grammar test. Of course, people who have a consolidated C1 level, even if they haven't read Mary Poppins, were able to fill out the gaps, maybe not with a similar with same words as in Mary Poppins, but with similar with words that made sense, or But anyway, you know that the aim of this exercise was to make you curious about those, to have you engaged in working on language awareness without thinking, I have to pass, without suffering, just like. But I know that being the first time in your life that you do something like this, maybe you were nervous. Well, I would like to listen to some feedback on the experience, right? But above all, I would like to thank you for doing it. And I will give you some feedback, okay? Because I will use this information along with the information I have from your other work to write a little letter to everybody, okay, on your level and what I think and all that. I will give you this letter in May, so it helps us make decisions, okay? And, well, I think everybody knows where they are, because we are in the carpe diem approach, right? You know every day where you are, right? In a way. Okay, and then I would like to apologize to the people who left because they felt a bit maybe that it was too much to read one of Eve Ensler's vagina monologues in class, my Angry Vagina, to apologize because I didn't realize. I thought that because we had spent so many months together, that maybe it was okay now to do it. I understand that you can address taboo topics at the beginning of the course, but when the group is such a good group as yours is, and because you have a good atmosphere in class, and then you know that in education we have the duty in democracies to try to address all kinds of questions that can improve human relationships and that can help people live together and be more respectful and tolerant with each other, understand each other better, develop empathy, because empathy can be developed, and you cannot develop empathy if you don't know about other people's reality. And of course, women's bodies have been alienated from them. Women's bodies are always exposed in patriarchal societies. Naked women and women's bodies are always there, and nobody is ashamed. Nobody feels uncomfortable. But those exhibitions are I think, well, I don't know if you agree, but of course I'm a feminist, are humiliating for women, are aggressive towards women, because they objectify, they cosifican, they objectify women's bodies. Women's bodies are seen as rubber dolls, sexual objects. And that is not women's vision of their bodies. That is not what women want their bodies to look like, or what women do with their bodies, or that is not what women talk about, and in any case, that is extreme pressure and a source of misery for a lot of women, for most women, and I think it should be a source of misery for everybody, really, because it's not nice to see how any human being is objectified or mistreated in that way, right? And it's very humiliating how women are presented in our society. So for a change, this monologue is a woman's vision of how society treats her vagina. No? My Angry Vagina is about how it's a stand-up comedy. It's a monologue. It's stand-up comedy, so it's really funny, and it is. It's funny, and it is feminist humor. This is a question, an issue that we can also talk about. It's very interesting because sexist humor is called feminist humor. In this kind of slander, perpetual slander, the difamación perpetua, no? That feminism is subject to, and feminists are subject to. Sexist jokes are not feminist jokes. Jokes saying that men are stupid, or or any human being is stupid. That's not a feminist joke. Feminism is a social movement that seeks a betterment of society. So, of course, we can make jokes about how intelligent or not some people are, but most of those jokes are not feminist. This is an example of feminist humor. Feminist humor is usually political, okay, and that is why I recommended you read Gloria Steinem's "If Men Could Menstruate." There you have another example of feminist humor, and usually, unless you are really, really biased, really, narrow-minded, in our times, it's a very limited world. But unless you are in a very oppressive atmosphere, most people laugh when they hear this, because it's funny, because it's true. It's true that what the monologue says about going to the OB-GYN, the torture to your vagina, the terror, or about thongs. Thongs are los las bragas esas que son una raya, thongs, no sé, ¿cómo se llama? Bueno, okay, or about sprays, floral sprays. Why? I mean, chemicals. Why should we spray chemicals on our vaginas to smell like roses, or it's so. Have you ever heard women talk about this? I mean, what's the big deal about listening to women talk about this? What's the taboo about this? The taboo is that women have to feel ashamed of their bodies, and only men can use their bodies to make money, to make programs, to decorate their manifestos or their whatever. I also include the revolutionaries and all that, no, because they always depict a woman with a baby and a gun, or and women's bodies are always used in patriarchal society in ways which women don't decide and don't define, and it's not a concept that comes from their mind. So what's the big deal? Why can't we listen to women about their bodies? Of course, we should listen to women about any human matter, but my gosh, about our bodies. Nobody's interested. We are interested. We are interested. I am interested, right? And we talk about all kinds of topics in class, don't we? So we talk about all kinds of topics, and of course, this ones too. And at the C1 level, you need to gather lots of ideas on different kinds of things, because the more ideas you have, the easier it is to develop any kind of topic. When you have to write about something, or your writing is going to be better because you have something meaningful to say, because you have thought, you have analyzed, you have considered ideas, and this makes your own ideas richer. Sometimes you change your ideas, but most of the times it's an evolution. You don't change completely, but it helps us learn and evolve. Evolution means progressive change for the better. Okay. Oh my God, this is 23 minutes. Okay. So thank you for coming to the anti-exam. Thank you for giving us the chance to start watching my Angry Vagina and start reading it in class together, because it's good to do it together too. Do it at home on your own, but it would be wonderful if you ask me one day to watch the woman do it, or to read it, and then a very funny exercise to have different people translating. For instance, I read a sentence, and then I say, okay, now Pepito translates, and then that person translates, and then that person reads the next sentence, and then, you know what I mean? And that would be very funny, because we have a lot of men in class this year, and it would be funny to see them talking about their vaginas. Okay, so thank you for all. See you next week on Tuesday, because I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday, unfortunately, and I am very sorry about that. They couldn't give me another day, but I will send you an email. Okay, big hug, and please listen to English every day, watch TED Talks, and increase your list of useful language, and think about your mistakes, okay, your list of mistakes, and try to finish redesign my brain, the listening, okay? And if you can, try to do a writing, some writing, but I'm not very worried about your writing, because writing is something, we have done the hardest part. We have created presentations explaining how to do those texts. So I'm very, very happy about your work there. You did very good work, and I want to publish it. So I hope that I have the final versions, everybody's final versions, that I can start, sit one afternoon and do them all and upload them all in a go. Okay? Okay. So see you soon. See you on Tuesday. Bye.